Hi everybody, thanks for having me as part of your class today. My name is Christine Noonan and I work in the marketing department at the Minnesota State Fair. I have been there since 2011 and I am one of 4 full-time year-round people in our department, and we grow to a team of 11 or so over the course of the summer and then during the fair. And here's a photo of a group of us. I am the one in the lower left-hand corner. And most of us are graduates of the University of Minnesota. So it's a tradition of ours to watch the U of M marching band when they march in the parade at the state fair. And the band is huge, and they do this encore performance after the parade. And they do it in the street outside the International Bazaar. And it's a super fun, energetic thing to watch. So we make it a point to try and get over to see not only the band in the parade, but also this encore performance. This is something that we really look forward to when we're working really long, sometimes stressful days during the fair. So I wanted to share anyways a picture of what we all look like. And this was taken at last year's state fair. So a little bit about how I got into my career in marketing. I was born and raised in Minnesota and graduated from Mounds View High School. And when I graduated, I was like 90% sure I wanted to be a lawyer. So I went to college to major in political science. And I didn't even make it through my freshman year before I knew that I probably didn't want to major in political science and probably didn't want to go to law school afterwards. So I came home, and during that summer, pretty much had to try and figure out what I was going to do in the fall. And over the course of the summer, I had an opportunity through a Japanese culture organization that I was volunteering with to participate in the filming of a TV commercial. And the commercial was for an international grain company that wanted to show how their grains feed the world. So we spent 2 days at this farmhouse to film a 60-second TV commercial. And the whole process was so interesting to me that I started talking to anyone who would answer my questions, whether it's the film crew or the directors or the people from the ad agency or from the company. And I asked them, wanted to know strategy and why they were doing what they were doing. And during that, filming and time afterwards, I kind of thought to myself, maybe this is something that I want to study, maybe the whole idea of, marketing and advertising. So I basically had to start my college search over again, and this time I was a little bit more strategic and thoughtful, and I came up with 4 things that I decided I was going to look for in my next college choice. And one of the things I was looking for was practical classes. And by practical classes, I mean classes where you learn skills that you can use right away on the job. So I wanted to learn news writing and reporting and ad copywriting, etc. And if I had stayed at my previous college at the time, really the closest I could have gotten to something like that would have been to be an English major, but I didn't really want to read literature and I didn't want to write papers, that kind of thing. So that's what I mean by I wanted practical classes. So classes that would give me skills that I could use right away after I graduated, on the job. Another thing that I was looking for out of my next college was a campus that had student clubs that related to my major. So for example, the Advertising Federation and the Public Relations Society of America are professional organizations, and they have student clubs where you can team up with fellow students and enter competitions, and you can network with other students, hear guest speakers, etc. And so I thought that these extra opportunities would be really valuable to me and help me learn a little bit more about my major and possible career choices. So I wanted to find a place where, again, I could participate in some student club activities. So when I changed majors to marketing and advertising, I did not know anybody else in either of these fields. So I really wanted someone that I could ask questions to. What classes should I take? What are some of the trends in the field? Where is there a demand for jobs? What skills should I work on? Can you help me network with people in the industry, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought a mentor would be really helpful, and a mentor is kind of like a guide and somebody who can answer some of those questions. So I decided I wanted to look for a college where either there was a formal mentorship program that would help match me up with someone, or where there were lots of people in the industry so that I could find a mentor on my own. And the last or 4th thing on my list was to find an internship. And as I'm sure you know, an internship is like a part-time or a temporary job where you get to try out some of your skills, learn more about your field, see what you like or don't like about a working environment. It's really a chance to put to work what you learn in school. And at the same time, you can build your network and hopefully get good experience and job references that you can put on your resume. So again, an internship and the ability to either get an internship through a formal program or a place where there were lots of resources available that I could tap into to find an internship on my own were things that I was looking for out of my next experience. So, as you can see from my first slide, I landed at the University of Minnesota, and I'm happy to say that I was able to do the 4 things that I really wanted to during my college time. And I've been working in marketing or advertising ever since, and I've really enjoyed it. So a couple other things I wanted to share too, based on my own experience, it is okay to change directions. It's not the end of the world if you kind of start down a path and then you decide it's not for you, because I think it's more important to find a course of study that will be a good foundation that helps you meet your goals and get what you want out of a career. My second piece of advice is to try lots of new things. Maybe step out of your comfort zone and have some new experiences and to learn a lot about a lot of different things because you never know where they're going to lead. And I'm a perfect example of that. If I hadn't done that TV commercial, which I kind of decided to do on a whim, and it was an opportunity that kind of came my way by chance, I may never have discovered the world of marketing and, discovered the career that now I've been on for many, many years. In fact, I don't even know what I would be doing right now. So, take advantage of some opportunities to try some new and different things. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about marketing as a field. So most people think that marketing is about sales. And while sales is definitely a part of marketing, I think that marketing is really more about influencing decisions. Because we make choices all the time. Where are we going to eat? What are we going to do with our free time? What phone to buy? What college are we going to go to? Are we going to go to the state fair? And so lots of things factor into those decisions, and marketing plays a role in those. So within marketing, there are a variety of components, and you can specialize in a specific area. At the state fair, one of the things that I love is because we are a small department, we each get to do a lot of different things. And so I love the variety of what I get to think about and what I get to plan, and then all the different types of skills that I get to develop. So I'm going to talk next a little bit about some of these areas within marketing. So a big part of marketing is determining what types of strategies are effective with different types of people. So if you look at this photo here, this is a photo of a bee beard demonstration. And what happens during the bee beard demonstration is it happens in our agriculture horticulture building, and there's a big glass case, and there's like 10,000 bees buzzing around in this glass enclosure. And so a volunteer goes in there, and they have a kind of a necklace thing on. You can see the string there. And on this little necklace thing, there's a box that has the queen bee in it. So the volunteer goes into this enclosure, and after about 10 or 15 minutes, the bees that are all buzzing around in there figure out that that's where the queen bee is. So they swarm to get close to the queen and kind of form this beard. And they don't sting because they're not agitated. And so while this is happening during the demonstration, the gentleman in the white is talking about bee behavior and pollinators and the role that they play in producing our food and how they're in trouble because of a variety of different things going on in the climate and with pesticides and that kind of thing. So then this demonstration goes on, and then after about 15 minutes or so, the volunteer stands up, jumps up and down, the bees scatter, they take the little necklace thing off, and then the volunteer walks out of there. And it's a really, really cool thing to see at the fair. So going back to the role of psychology in all of this. So if you're a person who plans their trip to the fair, you might look at a schedule of events or look at some publicity in a newsletter or an ad, a few weeks ahead of time to see, what day has the most interesting things that you want to see at the fair, like the bee beard demonstration. And then you might choose to come to the fair on, that particular Wednesday. And then when you're here, you would maybe have a schedule or a plan that you would follow to make sure that you get to do all the things that you want to do when you're at the fair, eat the foods that you want to eat, and see the music or see the demonstrations that are on your list of things to do. So that's kind of how a planner might come to the BPR demonstration. And typically, I should say, the people who are planners we found skew a little bit older in age. If you're more spontaneous, which we found are people who tend to be a little bit younger, maybe people your age, you might decide to just come to the fair on a certain day because that's when your friends are coming. You might not even have a plan of what you want to see or do. You're just going to come to the fair and walk around and enjoy kind of things as they come your way. You might not even know anything about the Bee Bear demonstration. But then, as you're kind of at the fair, maybe you'll see an Instagram post while you're here, and you think, oh, that looks really cool. Maybe we should, make a point of trying to check that out. Or maybe you might even just be walking by and happen upon it and stop and say, hey, let's kind of see what's going on. So regardless of whether you're a planner or you're the spontaneous person, you both ended up at the same Bee Beer demonstration, but you came to it in different ways. So when we're working on marketing strategies for the fair, we need to keep in mind that different people think and act in different ways, and we need to come up with the most effective ways to influence each of their decisions. And psychology is definitely part of the equation. So I also get to use some analytical skills because a lot of our marketing strategies are based on research. So these are 2 pages from my media strategy book, and these are graphs that are based on data collected for people who buy advertising on various media. And in this case, we're looking at streaming audio. So the page on the left is for adults 18 to 20 years old, and the page on the right is adults 25 to 49 years old. And the red and kind of the pink areas on the graphs show Spotify, and then the blue, dark blue and light blue show Pandora. So basically what these graphs are showing is that younger people tend to listen to Spotify more, older people tend to listen to Pandora, and also that younger people are more likely to pay for premium, while older people are more likely to use the free versions of these services. So having research like this available to us helps us figure out how to get the biggest bang for our advertising dollar. So if we're going to put money into streaming audio, we know the best way and to reach certain groups of people. So another example of how we would do research. So if we were in person, I would ask you these 2 questions, and maybe your teacher has asked you these in advance of this presentation. And we would, talk a little bit about, the words that you would use to describe the fair and what you like to do at the fair. Because in my day-to-day life at my job, I usually don't have the opportunity to talk to students such as you, so I use the talks that I do in schools as a chance to do some research. And how you answer these 2 questions is really useful information for me because it helps me plan the best ways to reach young people and to figure out what messages will resonate with you. So again, the media planning chart and then kind of this talking through words and just conversation are a couple of different ways that we do market research at the fair. So switching gears from the analytical part of my job, I also love being able to figure out how to use graphics to convey our messages effectively. So this is an example of a bus side that we did last year. And on a bus, there's not a lot of time for people to read because the bus is often kind of driving by, and there is not a lot of space. So we need to catch your attention really fast. And so when you look at this execution of one of our creatives, hopefully the words that stand out to you are taste buds. And the line, fire up your taste buds, is the call to action. And the fair is known for food, so we want that to catch people's attention and to maybe get them thinking, oh yeah, the fair is coming. I can't wait to get cookies or cheese curds or corn or whatever. So again, that kind of shows a graphic treatment of words and how we use them to convey our message. Here is another example. So even though this is a really, really cute kid who's eating a Pronto Pup, a young person such as yourself probably wouldn't be interested enough by this picture to pick up the brochure and open it up. However, if you are the parent of young children, this might grab your attention, and you might read the inside and learn about all the activities and rides that we have for families, and this might influence your decision to bring your family to the fair. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of point out between the bus side and with this brochure is that we are trying to also develop a consistent graphic look for our campaign. So you can kind of see that the logos were the same colors in the two executions, the motifs, the typefaces, the border, the white background, all are pretty similar and consistent between the two executions. So that's another way that we can kind of build a whole cohesive advertising and marketing campaign. So getting a chance to be creative also extends to the production of our radio and TV ads. So we work with a virtual ad agency that we call the Marketing Coalition. And by virtual, I mean that each of the people has another, regular daytime job. And maybe they work for a company, or they work for an ad agency, or maybe they're an independent contractor or consultant. But they come together to work on the state fair campaign as kind of its own project. So we have a copywriter, an art director, video production, media buyers, people who help us with research and with placing our ads on social media and website. And it's a team that's been together now, I think about 15 years or so. And we come together and work on the state fair campaign every year. So this is a new ad that we developed. It's a TV ad for the 2019 state fair. So I am going to play that now. Hopefully this will work.
Pigs and chickens, singing and dancing, food and beverage.
So that was a TV ad that we did for last year's fair. And what's interesting about our ad production is that we need to develop the ideas more than a year in advance. So in order to have this idea of doing a song to promote the 2019 fair, we had to figure this out actually before the 2018 fair, so that we could come to the 2018 fair, film people singing "Hey, hey," and then produce the ad and have it ready to run in the summer of 2019 to promote last year's fair. Because if we would have thought of this anthem idea after the 2018 fair, it would have been too late to shoot any of these people singing because the fair would have been over. So sometimes we need to work really, really far ahead for some of our creative executions. A large part of my job is writing, and which is a good thing because I do love to write. So whether it's doing a few words like "fire up your taste buds" like we had on the side of the bus, or writing copy that is translated into another language, or even writing longer descriptive copy for our website or for some other promotional materials. My goal is to use descriptive words that influence people and to figure out how best to communicate our message in all different types of vehicles, because obviously writing for the side of a bus is different than writing longer paragraphs on a website. So again, trying to tell that story and figure out a way through words to influence people's decision. So a big, huge part of marketing is figuring out a plan to get from point A to point Z. And so much of marketing is really about being able to manage multiple projects. And one of my favorite projects at the fair is the announcement of our new foods. So point A in this project is really starts, I guess, with the vendors. So they submit their new food ideas on a form that goes into our concessions and exhibits department. And then several of us are involved in taste testing and doing some additional research, being part of a selection committee that chooses which foods will be on our official list. And then I work with the vendors to get photos of the foods that are selected and to write the descriptions of the food, and then pull all of that information and compile it in such a way that it can be used in a variety of different marketing materials. And then whenever our release date is, typically it's in June at a specific time of day, boom, we hit the button, so to speak, and the new foods are announced simultaneously on several social media channels, on our website, in a news release that goes to like 600 media outlets across the state, as well as some national media. And the announcement lands in the inbox of all of our email subscribers. And the new foods announcement is one of the most highly anticipated fair announcements of the year, and it generates a ton of publicity for the fair. So it's really important that it goes off seamlessly and that we get it right, and that all the parts of the project are coordinated and done in a really top-notch way. So managing that project and working with all of my teammates is something that I really, really enjoy. And again, that is a huge part of marketing as well. So another part of my job is to coordinate our guest services. And you might ask, why are guest services part of marketing? And that's a really good question, because on the surface, it doesn't really seem to make sense. It's not, like advertising and some of the other things we've already talked about. But these are part of marketing because, now that we've done all of this work to convince you to come to the fair and to spend your time and money with us, we want you to have a really great experience, and these services are designed to make sure that you do. Because if you come to the fair and you don't have a good experience, you have a really lousy time, you're probably not going to come back. And worse, you're going to maybe post on social media or tell your friends and family what a lousy time you had, so that now a lot of people know that the fair was not a good experience, and maybe now they won't want to come. Because at the end of the day, if everybody only came to the fair once, we would run out of people. So our goal in marketing is really to make sure that we have repeat customers and repeat guests, and that we have really positive word of mouth. And we do that by making sure, again, that we have great information booths. So if you want to know when the Bee Beard demonstration is, or the U of M marching band is, we have that information. We're able to help you. If you want to know where the closest place to get cookies is, we have an app and helpful people to guide you to the right place. If you happen to lose your phone when you come, we've got a great lost and found process to get that phone into our lost and found system, so we can hopefully reunite it with its owner before you've left the fairgrounds. If you've got medical issues, or if you have a complaint that you want to let us know about, we've got a process for fielding that complaint, responding to it, getting back to you to let you know how we've resolved the issue, and then using that information then to work to improve the fair guest experience for everybody else. So that's why guest services are a really important part of marketing at the State Fair, and why they're actually a huge part of my job. So I talked a little bit about how I love the variety of what I get to do as part of my job. The other part of variety that I love is about all the things that I get to learn. And being in marketing at the fair, we're kind of the hub of a lot of different information. So I get to learn about so many different parts of the fair operation and what it takes to put on an event like the fair. From being a food vendor to rides, learning about a ton of different kinds of music and artists, how to bake a cake and win a blue ribbon, about safety and security, and about employees in all different departments. And the photo in the middle is of our llama costume contest. So I even get to learn about llama costume contests and how the judges pick the winning combo. So again, I love the variety of what I get to do, but I also love the variety of what I get to learn. So really quick, just a bit of history. The State Fair actually got its start because of marketing. So if you can imagine what this area was like in the 1850s, especially in the winter, probably did not seem like a place you would want to move to if you were living on the east or the west coast. So people had the idea of having an agricultural exposition where they could showcase the area, the fact that you could get a lot of land, the best kind of equipment to farm land, that you could raise cattle and crops here, that it was a really good place to raise a family. So we had territorial fairs first, and then Minnesota became a state in 1858, and then the first state fair was in 1859. And because agriculture was the heart of our beginning, that is why agriculture will continue to be at the core of the state fair's mission. And that's why we have barns and livestock and educational opportunities so that people can learn about things like bees, for example. So back in the day, 99% of the people who came to the fair were involved in food production. So that's why there were things like, farm equipment and machinery and that kind of thing. Now the exact opposite is true, and 99% of us have nothing to do with where our food comes from. We just go to the grocery store to buy it. So the fair is really an important opportunity to showcase and to teach about where our food comes from, and to give our guests an opportunity to meet the people who produce our food. Okay, so finally, I wanted to wrap up and talk about some of the skills that I think you need to be successful, both in college or on the job, especially if you're thinking about a career in marketing. And these skills, just like any skill in sports or music, you need to practice. And for students such as yourselves, now is the perfect time to be able to practice some of these things. Because by the time you get to college or by the time you start looking for an internship, it might be too late to learn some of these things, because most companies want someone who already has an idea of how to manage a project or already has good writing skills, for example. So to start off, we've already talked about the value of finding a mentor and learning more about the fields you might be interested in. And then writing is also key, as I've mentioned. And this is kind of goes to, how do you develop an idea? And are your thoughts clear and organized? Do you use words that are creative, and do you use them creatively? Do you have a good grasp of spelling and usage and grammar? And so whether you're posting something on social media that, hundreds of thousands of people might see, or if you're just sending a memo to your manager, you want to be able to communicate your message clearly and without mistakes, because it reflects either poorly on your organization or maybe even on you if you have a lot of mistakes in it, or you're not able to really communicate your idea in writing. And as an example, there is no spell check on Instagram. So these are really important skills to have. We've also talked already a bit about project management. And so I would just say to you, whether you're planning a birthday party or a club meeting or a fundraiser or even just a research project for a class, practice figuring out what your goals are, what that point Z is, and then outlining all of the various steps that you need to get successfully to that end point. This is a really, really valuable skill. And like I said, you can do it informally in your mind and just kind of plot it out. Or you might even maybe develop some skills, on paper or on a computer using, a calendar or that kind of thing. So however you decide to do it, just again, work on filling in all of those steps in between A and Z so that you are able to produce and to show a successful project or event at the end of it. And then, a lot of is made of how important leaders are. And leaders are important, but I would say that also, being a good team member is just as important. So you want to make sure that you do what you say you're going to do, and that your team members can count on you so that you're responsible and that you're dependable. So at the state fair, teamwork is so, so, so important because we all count on each other. If anyone drops the ball, that just makes it that much harder on everyone else. And if too many balls are dropped, we run the risk of not being able to provide a good fair experience for our guests. So being a part of a team and being responsible and dependable and reliable is really, really important. And then finally, I'm going to put my mom hat on and advise you to remember that what you post on social media can be seen by, potential employers, places where you'd like to be an intern, colleges that you're applying to. So just be aware of what kind of image you're portraying. Do you talk negatively about others? Do you use poor language or have misspellings or bad grammar? Because, going back to marketing, a lot of what influences decisions is an image or a perception that we have of a particular brand or a particular company. So, take that kind of idea and apply it to yourself, and be aware of what kind of image you're presenting through your social media. And just know that what you post on social media is forever, and that there are really robust tools out there that help organizations and businesses track what's being said on social media. So just be careful. And now I will get off my soapbox. All right, well, that is the end of my presentation. I wish I could have been with you in person. I want to thank you for having me as part of your class today. And again, if you'd like to do an informational interview or are looking for a mentor, feel free to let your teacher know and they can get in touch with me and I'd be happy to help you out. So I want to thank you again and wish you the best of luck with the rest of the school year. And I hope to see you at the State Fair. Bye-bye.